Happy autumn, everyone. Today we're going to learn how to make focaccia together. It's one of those recipes that you've all have asked me about. It's one also of those things that you can learn with me at home if you ever want a full cooking experience. But I thought I would share with you the recipe today because I know that you're all fans. So here it goes. Flour, potatoes, yeast, oil, salt, and that's all. 3 boiled potatoes or a big one, and mash them up nicely together. You can use some water to help yourself, and don't be too precise, they just need to be nicely mashed. This is the attachment that I'm using. You do not want to use a whisk because it's not a cake, but also the hook is not going to allow enough air to get in. So if you have this hook, perfect. Then put your potatoes in the bowl and then add 500 grams of this flour, semola rimacinata. This is ideal for pasta, bread, focaccia. And then this is the yeast that I'm using. It's a speedy yeast. I activate it in water just to make sure that it works well, and after 10 minutes it should be bubbling up just like this. So here is the potato with the flour on top, and then make a little hole at the top. So that's gonna be the little cage for the sugar and the yeast. The sugar helps the yeast activate nicely. So here I put almost half a tablespoon of sugar and a good tablespoon of salt. Here you see me put half of it, but I added more at the end because you don't want a bland dough. So put the salt on the side of the bowl. You don't want the yeast and the salt to get together and touch. Then you add some oil. Be generous with it. Again, I don't measure, but this is probably equivalent to another 2 tablespoons of oil, and add the yeast on top of the sugar. Now all you need to add now is a little bit of water. I don't measure the water either. I just look at the consistency. It needs to be fairly liquid, more than you would expect because it's a focaccia. But start with a little bit. You can always add it. You can never remove. Start spinning your stand mixer. Not too fast. Once it's all combined, you can speed it up and let it go nice and fast because it needs some force. It's gonna take about 10 minutes for it to get together and for the gluten to do its job. And at the end, you will see that what you want is for the dough to stick away from the bowl just like this. This means it's ready, and you can turn off the stand mixer right now. You see how elastic and compact it is? Even if it's liquid, it's sticking together almost as if it was an egg white. It's all nice and glutinous now. So now that our dough is ready, we just need to let it proof and let it rest so that it grows into the size that we really need it to be. So that's gonna take at least a couple of hours. This is where I'm going to leave my dough to proof, and the reason why I'm using this is because it's made of plastic and it's big enough, and it also has a lid, which means the warmth and the humidity is gonna stay inside the box while it proofs, which is very important. If you use metal, like a metal bowl, you risk that the dough is not gonna be able to rise because it's gonna slip on the bowl itself, so it's not gonna have that same rising power. You can also use glass. Glass also works very well. Use a spatula to help yourself. Should be very elastic, very sticky, and quite liquid, and it should come down very easily because it's now all sticking together, so you should really have almost none left inside the bowl. So if you do have an oven that has a proofing setting on, I would recommend using it because it's going to keep it nice and warm at the same temperature, especially during winter. So gluten and rising works best when the weather is a bit warm. It means that it's going to rise a little bit more quickly, and because I'm a bit in a rush and I want to get it done in 3 hours, this is the best way to get, assurance that you're going to have it ready on time. If you don't have an oven, just pick the warmest room in your house. Mine, if I didn't have the kitchen, would be the bathroom for some reason. So you can leave your focaccia bowl into the bathroom, if you don't have a lid, cover it with plastic foil, which works absolutely fine, and you will see that with time there's going to be condensation happening and the plastic will start rising as well with the dough itself, which is really cool to see. And now let's wait 2 hours to go. The dough is now ready. Open the lid and ta-da, look how much it has grown and how bubbly it is. Here are my baking trays. Always add a little bit of oil at the bottom. I know it looks like a lot, but the dough will need it. And don't stress the dough too much. Just put a little bit in and very gently start moving it around so that it reaches all the sides of the tray itself. And then it is time to use your condiments to put it on. Here I use chopped tomatoes, and Cheeto is a really good brand for some very good tomatoes. So put seasoning in them first, which makes life easier. Oregano, salt, oil, that's great. And put as much as you like on top, but don't cover it because this is not a pizza, it's supposed to be a focaccia bread. You can see I've added some garlic. Nothing is bad with garlic in it. I mean, I love it. So yeah, here goes the garlic. I remove what we call in Italian the soul of the garlic. If you see that it has a big one in the middle, remove it because that's the unhealthy part of the garlic. Then slice it nice and thin. It will become almost invisible on top of the focaccia once it's cooked, and add as much as you like. I'm a big garlic fan, so I'm going crazy with it, but you can add just a little bit or none at all. And if you want to add other things like olives, you absolutely can. This is a basic recipe with just garlic, tomato, and oregano. And let it bake in the oven at 225 degrees or the hottest temperature you have. And it's gonna take just 10 minutes. And then let it rest on a wire rack for a bit so it doesn't become soggy at the bottom. And there you go, guys, delicious.